Following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
And it is a Tuesday here inside the SWBC podcast studio at the Star in Frisco. And this is Mick Shots, Bill Jones, Mickey Spagnola, with a very special guest, at least for a little while today. Nate in Frisco is here.
Nate. Man, I want to apologize to you guys. I have appearance at 12:30. So I'm thinking, and I'm going by, I'm washed out, man. I need to get into the routine of what we do around here.
Where are you appearing?
I'm appearing up in the auditorium. I have to do something for some fans, a quick telling them about my life, and we'll
structure the show around you. When do you need
I got to leave in about 5 minutes, man. What do you guys?
5 minutes?
About 5-10 minutes. I'm sorry, fellas.
You got to prepare for it?
For that up there? No, I don't have to prepare for it, but I'm not a late person. I'm so nervous when I'm late.
Well, you've got 5 minutes to go upstairs.
Pull back the curtain here. Everson Walls called in sick today because he's playing in Charles Haley's golf tournament.
Yes. Charles going to beat him to death with an extra club.
Haley had a fundraiser.
Yeah, tackle tomorrow, and Dak did a super speech last night.
Oh, really?
Okay. All those Hall of Famers. And
I couldn't believe the people that were there.
Yes, it was hundreds of people there. And Dak came in because Charles talked about him early in the program and saying, Dak not only talks about tackle tomorrow and mental health, he gives a lot of money. And I'm not going to mention the number. Mm-hmm. But he mentioned the number. And I was like, wow, that's sweet. And he said, Dak should be here. And about an hour in, right after the auction, here comes Dak in short pants, his patent, football hat, and he talks about this and just, most people have charities and can't talk about them. Mm-hmm. But his knowledge of his charity and of Charles,
you can tell
charity,
it really means something.
Yes,
yeah,
and he's
speaking from the heart,
talking to the superintendents, talking to the principals. Charles put on it. The people that helped Charles put on a first-class deal. I mean, you should come next year. Y'all, I'm telling you, it is something special. All of Mean Joe Green, Eric Dickerson, you name them. Ricky for the Saints. I can't think of Ricky's last. Ricky Jackson.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, guys just show up, man. Marcus Allen, that was one of my favorites.
I think I saw Marcus Allen.
Yes,
on TV.
Usually Doug will show up. They are there in droves for Charles, and those people, all the sponsors, all the people that invite, they write checks. They don't joke. They don't know. They write checks, and it's just amazing what Charles do. And he's like, man, I want to come on to your podcast. I say, Charles, we don't know what you're going to say. I'll talk about tackle for tomorrow. Yeah, you'll start out that way, but then end up somebody's going to be an MO, before it's all over. Yeah.
We'd have to have how long of a delay?
Yeah.
That
Chris
doesn't
on
matter,
him, though.
because the last time I had him on when we did the Legends show, and he dropped whatever bomb.
Yeah.
And I said, Charles, you can't do that. We're on live radio. He goes, you mean I can't say? And he said it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, we learned that Everson had a tea time at noon, and so he couldn't be here.
Okay.
And so then
Nate's got a
Nate
12:30.
happened by Producer Supreme's office.
Yes.
And then Producer Supreme said, hey, Nate, you want to fill in for Everson? So Everson.
And I got excited because I had a chance to pick at you. So.
Yeah. And so Nate shows up here like 10 minutes early, ready to roll. And then as we're coming on the air here, he's looking at his phone, and he goes, oh, that's right. I've got an appearance at 12:30.
Well, what if we break at 12:15?
He overbooked.
Yeah, because I got to get up there, man.
You can take the elevator.
I can run upstairs. I got new knees.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'm the type of guy. I was late for something at training camp and I almost fell apart and almost couldn't do the show. I just being late. Mm-hmm. And I can't get past one of the times I was late, and I was a minute late, and it cost me $500.
When you were playing?
Yeah, when we were playing,
teach you.
because we started this. I'm sorry. I'm
No,
losing
go.
the show. Joe Arizona used to have special
Yes.
teams meetings.
Yes.
And I used to be a part of special teams back then. I was on 2 or 3 special teams. And guys, 1 minute late, usually nothing happens. And so, but one day everybody was there, and I'm like, Coach, everybody here but one guy? I said, when this guy come in here late, he getting the maximum fine. Well, the maximum fine back then was maybe $1,500 if a guy missed the whole meeting. But we like, every minute it's $100. Then it got to be $200. So you show up in about 5 or 6 minutes late, you could be out $1,000 real easy.
Wow.
So all our meetings started 5 minutes till. That's how it got. 5 minutes till. A guy walked in 3 minutes till. Early. No. That's $1,000, dog. And so our meeting started 5 minutes early, and I, for some reason I can't break it.
That's good. That's a
I can't
good
break
habit. Good habit not to break.
And
Yeah,
you
not-
showed up a minute late?
Me, I showed up a minute late, yeah, but this before we started. But after I got away with that, I started punishing
Can you
other
imagine
folks.
how much that would take the stress out of your life if you use that formula all the time? Just if a meeting starts at noon, show up at 11:30, 11:45 instead.
Yes.
Then
Like
you
if
can
the
always
plane
go
leaves
around
at
it.
2
Yeah.
o'clock.
that's right.
Micah Irvin,
Yes.
Dez. Is the other 88 like that? Is CD like that?
Well, they showed up late for preseason training camp, right?
Micah Irvin, Dez, and they both said the same thing. Hey, Mike, it's 8 o'clock. Okay, let's get started. But it was 8:15. Hey, Dez, it's 8 o'clock. 8:15. Let's get started. Is all the 88s like that? I know Drew wasn't like that because he
Des-
had to be on time.
Des almost missed the trip to London.
London, that's right.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
he
Oh,
showed
yeah.
up. If we were leaving at 4 o'clock, he pulled into the parking lot, but still had to go through security
I remember
at
I
about
was-
3:58.
That was at Valley Ranch. And I
Yeah.
remember I was doing a live shot outside the facility out on the street, and the buses were still there. All right, supposed to leave at 4 o'clock, and it was like 4:30 before the buses leave. Well, the reason was because Des showed up late, and he had to go get stuff for the trip, whatever. All right, let's, in our limited time we have with a 6-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman, tell me what you saw out of these offensive linemen. By the way, I'll add that there's a report that Cowboys have restructured Terrence Steele's contract, freeing up $4.5 million of cap space this morning.
Oh.
So not sure what they're going to do with that cap space, but tell me what you saw out of the offensive linemen, especially the 2 rookies,
Starting with the left tackle,
Tyler Guyton.
Tyler Guyton, Oklahoma's finest.
Well, Trent Williams might
yeah.
be their finest, and followed by Lane Johnson.
That's a beast. Don't even mention that name. Trent Williams.
That's a big man last night.
That's a H of a man, for real. But anyway, this young guy has the feet. We knew that. Has the recovery. We knew that. But I preached all camp long, Mick.
Yep.
Technique. He spent the majority of the game not trusting his strength and the length of his arms. He leaning on this guy. He all he has to do is he got the foot speed to kick back with the proper angles. But he wanted, for some reason, I guess he mauled a lot of guys in college, but he has the strength and he just got to learn to punch. He could have redirected this guy. And by the end of the game, the way that game was going, he could have wore him down. But they gave him a lot of help.
Yes.
He fought through it, and that is the key in the new NFL. Being able to, I'm happy. I'm proud of him. He fought through the game. When you play a great player like Myles Garrett and you make it through the game, Zadarius Smith, and you make it through the game, only 1 sack, a couple of tackles, but you made it through the game. And all you have to work on is your technique versus making it through the game and the coach saying, I don't know if this dude going to make it.
Well,
They know he's going to make
it
it.
wasn't Chaz Green, right?
Yeah, they've learned a valuable lesson. Well, this coach would have never let that happen.
No,
but,
because
yeah.
they gave him help.
Yeah, they gave him help.
Not every play, but they gave him help.
I like early how Zeke went out one time, and I'm not a big proponent against Myles of people going out because he's smart. He'll use that running back against you. But Zeke one time saved his bacon. You saw one time Ferguson saved his bacon, but this kid never stopped fighting. He balled, and they helped him. I like how Coach McCarthy and Coach Solari schemed this up. They helped this kid, and they kept him on the move, where they kept somebody on the move all the time, bumping this kid. So Miles, he in the hot tub because he got hit a lot. Now, our center was the helper. I like that. He
but
was
not
the helper.
not all the time.
No, he wasn't, because sometime when they turned the protection, he had to go straight to the guy,
right,
and all he got was a helping hand. So not all the time, but the majority of his time was helping. They run even look. Man over the guard. He had a linebacker. Now they hit the A gaps.
Yep.
And so he knew he knew the majority of the time who to get. Now, one time, this is where Dak earned that nice little paycheck. One time they misread the protection. They was all supposed to go right, but the center went left. I mean, it was all supposed to go left, but the center bumped right first and then went left. That left a free man. That's when Dak tossed that ball to
Brandon Cooks.
Because they blitzed.
They blitzed.
The
so
linebacker came, yep.
This guy, from what I see, I'm talking about Cooper Beebe, did a nice job. He did a nice job. He was a helper. But as the season go on, you're going to have true overs and unders where they put somebody over the center. That's going to be the true test of how you do things. He didn't blow any protections. He pointed out the strength of everything, of the protection. So when he gets on you, the difference between him and the other centers is when he gets on you, he going to move you.
Right.
Or he's gonna be stuck to you like a spotted tick on a red bone hound. He's gonna be stuck to you. So these kids, one thing I like about them, they're fighters. And once their technique continue to get better and better, and once they get more and more experience, I think I haven't looked at the Saints, but they're gonna give them they're gonna come in here pumped up. I mean, they just ran over a team, which rightfully so they should have done last week, the Saints. But we ain't them boys down south. We ain't NASCAR racing down there. That's racing country. We bring a different flavor.
So the real test for Beebe is going to be Baltimore when they got big old Michael Pierce. in the middle.
Right.
And then the following week the Giants when they've got Dexter Lawrence.
And all I'm gonna tell big fella, man, just lose your hands in the gooey, chewy, fatty dewies. Just make sure you.
Those are two different problems. Michael Pierce versus Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is a problem. He's the Myles Garrett of the inside guys.
Yes, he is.
Schottenheimer said one of the things Guyton struggled a little bit with the cadence, like he wasn't getting off on the snap count. And he said when he gave up the sack, he was late. And what he did, instead of backing up square, he dipped his shoulder.
He tried to turn,
And
he tried to turn.
And I never thought of this. So you dip your left shoulder, which means the corner just got shorter, right? He doesn't have to go as far around.
Anytime a tackle leans, he's giving up inches. Especially these guys like him and Steele with these long arms. Just imagine, I'm on Bill and I got my arms out. All of a sudden I bring it in here. That's 6 inches. I bring it in here. That's 2 feet. If I do this right here, he got me. So anytime you don't use that what God gave you them talented long arms like that, oh man, all he had to do was just sit back. Even though he was late, just come straight back, and try to anchor yourself quick as you can with a punch. That's all he had to do. I mean, now that's easy to say, but from a guy coming out of college and had no experience but the preseason, and not everybody going 100 miles an hour.
And only one game in the preseason.
Thank you. And only one game at left tackle in college. So he fought through this. Like Coach Switzer say, I'm sorry, sweetheart, you don't know what you don't know. But once you start learning, it's going to be a great thing.
That was the greatest quote ever.
Yeah.
So, and Beebe, by the way, when he didn't have someone, he went and found someone.
Yeah. He's active.
I went back and looked this morning, actually, and on the Zeke's touchdown run, we saw Zeke run through Thornhill, but Beebe was the reason Thornhill didn't get there in time because he was pulling out and he just gave him a little shove. Right. And it got him off balance, and that's why when he got there, he wasn't square.
Right.
And if you ain't square on Zeke, you're toast.
Yeah. Well, I got to get out of here.
Okay, go.
It's 12:15.
Y'all be good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Our thanks to Nate Newton, and Mick Shots continues in just a moment.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company would like to issue a correction. Miller Lite is brewed to be less filling. What are you doing here?
Miller Lite tastes great.
Look, I'm just reading the script. It says less filling.
That's not what my script says.
Well, mine says...
We'd like to apologize for the previous announcers. Miller Lite is in fact less filling and tastes great. Time to shine, legal guy.
Celebrate responsibly. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Beer. 96 calories and 3.2 grams carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Fall is here, and that means football is back, bringing all the delicious game day foods with it. As you prep for all the big games, tailgates, and watch parties, let Yo Quiero be your one-stop destination for all things home gating. Yo Quiero's fresh, flavorful, ready-to-serve guacamole, made with real Hass avocados, will score taste bud touchdowns as you cheer on the Cowboys. Yo Quiero's wide range of mouth-watering and versatile products can be found in your local grocery store's produce or deli section. Grab some today.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Back to Mick Shots.
Rally Days presented by SeatGeek give NFL fans an experience of a lifetime the day prior to Dallas Cowboys home games on September 14th. Enjoy activities at Miller Lighthouse, get a behind-the-scenes tour of AT&T Stadium, and more. Visit attstadium.com/Rally Days for more information and to get your tickets today. And Everson's right. There needs to be some bigger periods.
All right, and Rally Day on Saturday. Home opener is Sunday against the New Orleans Saints. First of two straight home games. Baltimore Ravens will be in here the following Sunday. And Jerry was on the radio. Well, first off, let's go back to yesterday afternoon.
Yes.
Dak paid a visit to the owner's office.
Yes.
And signed a contract. And the Jones family was all there. You probably saw the pictures of that. And he tweeted out a message to all Cowboys fans afterwards. It was posted online. And then Jerry was on the radio this morning. What did you take from Jerry?
So, since he signed, I saw some numbers on the contract.
Oh,
right?
You got it. Okay.
And this year, his salary cap hit is $43.38 million. So it went down because they were able to use his base salary, which was $29 million, and prorate it over the life of the deal. But next year, here's what people don't understand when they think it's just, well, $60 million a year, and next year his cap hit is $89.88 million, 32% of the salary cap. Think about that. Now, they put voided years at the end, so they're going to be able to pay him money up front, restructure it. But the other thing, I don't think when everybody says this extension was $260 million.
240.
240, excuse me. That $40 million still had to be accounted for in restructure bonus, so that went against the cap hit, right? So that doesn't go away.
So why it's up to $89.8 million
right,
next year is because that $40 million is factored in.
And so And if you look at it, the guarantee at signing was $129 million, which was his base salary this year, his $47.75 million base next year, and the $80 million signing bonus. So that was the guaranteed. Now, the other guarantees are like if he's on the roster March whatever in 2025, it guarantees 2026, and it goes on and on and on. But just to understand what those cap hits are over the life of the contract, then it's $68 million, $62 million, and $72 million through 2028. So that's why these things take time. And it's not as easy as saying, well, you just pay him $60 million a year for 4 years. That's $240 million, and let's go about it. But that's not the way this thing works out. Because if you add up his cap hits, he's over $300 million in cap hits.
And we've talked about it leading up to Sunday when the agreement was made, that what was different about Dak's negotiations than all the other quarterbacks that have been signing recently is this is Dak's third contract. Those other quarterbacks, it was their second contract, so you don't have that hidden money left over from the second contract that you have to take accounting for.
And they were able to, because their fifth year base salary wasn't that high because it was their initial contract, right? So you could stuff money into that fifth year. If the Cowboys stuffed money into what Dak was costing this fifth year, it was going to be over $60 million cap hit, but they couldn't do that. So what they did is they paid him restructure bonus and lowered his cap hit to $43 million for this year. So, and you mentioned that they restructured Steele's contract. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I'm sure they're looking at is making sure they have money if they want to elevate guys off the practice squad. Like Vigil, veteran guy on the practice squad, he's probably only costing, I don't know, no more than $21,000 a week, but he gets elevated, and all of a sudden you're making a heck of a lot more. And the same thing with Delvin Cook if they ever get to the point where they want to elevate him too. So they need operating capital, and that's probably why they did that.
They might need some money, too, as we get closer to the trade deadline to see where they are injury-wise at certain positions.
Right.
And have the flexibility to be able to add a player, too.
Now, Jerry sounded optimistic that Ferguson potentially could play in this game on Sunday. It ended up
that was
being,
after his examination of his knee.
Yes, right. Jerry looked at the MRI and decided it was a medial collateral ligament sprain and a bone bruise because he hyperextended his knee. Because I heard somebody say, well, good thing it's just a sprain, it's not a tear. No, a sprained knee ligament is a tear, meaning partially. It frays. So he said we are relieved about it. So we'll see just where Ferguson is by the end of the week.
And back on the Dak contract, as far as his radio interview this morning, he was asked about taking it to the 11th hour.
Yes. And Jerry's answer was, the 11th hour to what? There was no deadline, right? It wasn't like, well, if we don't get this done, Dak's not playing in the game. He's going to walk away.
Now, the only deadline from that standpoint is, okay, they both want a deal done.
Right.
And even though Dak may not come out and say it, I mean, it's just human nature. You want to get it done and not have him risk injury, you know. If they already basically have an agreement where they've got the parameters together, you might as well go ahead and knock it out, get it taken care of before he steps on the field for the first game.
If you were my agent, I don't want to go and play that game.
That's right.
Without knowing that money's in the bank.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street.
Right.
And that's what Jerry was trying to point out, that We can get close and we see something we like. It's like, okay, let's go get it. But the other side's got to say, okay, we want to do it too.
And even the gist of that question, wait until the 11th hour. Well, okay, it's the 11th hour if we're talking that the deadline is the start of the regular season, okay? But behind that question is, why didn't you get it done like a year ago? Well, he had 2 years left on his contract a year ago. Okay?
Right.
And so there's no reason to. Like you would, the gist of the question was you could save money if you got it done earlier. Number one, you have to have both parties agreeing to it. Secondly, there's more water under the bridge, 17 games plus the playoffs under the bridge since that, more evidence to tell you whether or not you want to do this deal or not, and the health of the player as well. And so it didn't make any sense to do it a year ago.
Jerry also pointed out that Dak had some leverage because he said Dak had the ability to play it out and be free and then test what somebody else might pay him.
Right. And it's you can tell by the quarterback play around the league that the market would be there for him.
Oh, I found a half dozen teams that would sign him for $70 million tomorrow.
Right.
If he was available.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think everybody needs to understand. And I never understand, like, well, if we don't get it done by the start of the season, I'm done. I'm not negotiating. They're going to give you $80 million to put in the bank tomorrow, and you're going to say, nope, I'm done. BS, right? It's all about leverage and trying to, publicly get some leverage by saying stuff like that.
Yep. And the other thing, as far as the size of the contract and so forth, well, that's the going rate for quarterbacks in this league right now. The success of this league, the salary cap is raised to a point that as there's however many quarterbacks, close to a dozen quarterbacks that are all in that same salary cap range right now, and a lot that have done far less than what Dak has done in his career.
Well, at some point, the NFL needs to reestablish a quarterback salary cap that's independent of the rest of the team and say, okay, you can pay this guy however much and it doesn't count against the cap. I mean, it just makes sense. Think about people that make movies. The star gets all the money, right? And then guys like me and you, it's like, okay, you get.
Although that plays into the whole parity of the league, is because
I know
because there's only a third of the teams that have established quarterbacks that have those type contracts, because those are the teams that are winning. Well, right. And then it levels the playing field when you're have to pay that quarterback that amount of money, and you can't pay the rest of the team, and so then everyone winds up 9-8 or 8-9.
Well,
and Pete Rozelle is very happy,
and he'd be happy about that. By the way, were you able to watch last night?
Parts of the game, enough to know what happened in the game, and enough to know that Jordan Mason out of Georgia Tech University, another graduate of the Tashard Choice College of NFL running backs. He coached him at Georgia Tech, put on unbelievable performance in place of Christian McCaffrey, running for 147 yards. Think of the running backs that Tashard has coached. You got the Texas ones, which include this year's second-round pick, Jonathan Brooks, who's on the Carolina roster, hurt right now. And Bijan Robinson from last year, Roschon Johnson from last year, Jahmyr Gibbs of the Lions. He coached him at Georgia Tech as well. And now this guy, I'm like, I see he was undrafted 3 years ago out of Georgia Tech. Well, of course, he was coached by Tashard. And
he might have made himself some.
You know who he reminds me of? And Troy actually eventually said it himself. I said he looks like Marshawn Lynch.
Yes. He runs mean.
Yeah, that's right.
I had forgotten. So that was the most carries I think he had since the Cowboy game last year, when he had 10 carries for 69 yards.
Which was because it was a blowout win for the Niners.
They ran, and I remember this part. They ran for 170 yards against the Cowboys. It was on the road. I forgot what the score was. Do you remember?
I try to forget.
It was 42-10.
Mm-hmm.
It was at one point 21-10, and then they scored 21 straight points on the Cowboys.
And it was kind of after Van Der Esch left the game.
Yes.
Where they got those tacked on 3 touchdowns. And he had the advantage of the Cowboys not having a linebacker on the field that second half of that game.
Yeah. And then they followed
one linebacker.
And they followed suit after that by not putting 3 linebackers on when people are running against you.
All right, got much more to get to as Mick Shots continues in just a moment.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company would like to issue a correction. Miller Lite is brewed to be less filling. What are you doing here?
Miller Lite tastes great.
Look, I'm just reading the script. It says less filling.
That's not what my script says.
Well, mine says.
We'd like to apologize for the previous announcers. Miller Lite is in fact less filling and tastes great. Time to shine, legal guy.
Celebrate responsibly. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Beer, 96 cows and 3.2 grams carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer cows and carbs than premium regular beer.
Fall is here, and that means football is back, bringing all the delicious game day foods with it. As you prep for all the big games, tailgates, and watch parties, let Yo Quiero be your one-stop destination for all things home gating. Yo Quiero's fresh, flavorful, ready-to-serve guacamole made with real Hass avocados will score taste bud touchdowns as you cheer on the Cowboys. Yo Quiero's wide range of mouthwatering and versatile products can be found in your local grocery store's produce or deli section. Grab some today.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Back to Mick Shots.
Come shop at the Star in Frisco on Saturday, September 28th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Flea Styles Market at the Star, presented by Maker Place by Michaels, featuring 50-plus local makers offering art, fashion, home decor, jewelry, and kids' items. Market at the Star is always a favorite. Admission is free. Visit thestardistrict.com for more info.
All right, final segment here of Mick Shots for a Tuesday. Cowboys will start their work in earnest on the Saints tomorrow. Saints coming off a 47-10 win in their season opener against Carolina. And any other takes you had on your legal pad or from Jerry today? One guy that you mentioned that you'd like to talk about is Mazi Smith.
Yes. It was kind of the way Cleveland played it, it seemed like the Cowboys were in nickel more than anything else. Mazi only had 23 snaps. That was 30% of the snaps. And by the way, of those big guys in the middle, he had 23 snaps. Jordan Phillips had 15, and Linville Joseph had 13. So Mazi had the
So they combined for 51 snaps, those three. Okay.
And what they were doing is, with so much nickel, they were moving guys inside that you would think are defensive ends. So Marshawn Nealon took snaps inside. Of course, Osa Odigizua was inside, and even Chauncey Golston was playing inside at times. So they were rotating that inside part. But I thought from what I saw of Mazi, he was holding down the fort in the middle. He was taking up double teams so the linebackers could come through. Now, he didn't have a tackle. He didn't have an assisted tackle. But he was causing some disruption in there that other people benefited from. I saw one time he did get blown off the line, pushed back like 5 yards, and it was a running play. But for the most part, I thought he held his own. Now, I don't know how other people grade stuff like that, but from what I saw and from what Jerry said, that he was happy of what he did and felt like he had come a long way. So even Mike Zimmer was happy with the way Mazi played. Now, we'll see when someone ends up running the ball a heck of a lot more than Cleveland did. Bill, I think they only had, if I'm right, 19 carries. Mm-hmm. And the majority of those 93 yards were in the fourth quarter when the Cowboys were just making sure that they didn't hit them for any really big plays. So for a guy that, didn't play basically in the offseason, he was rehabbing from shoulder surgery, was somewhat limited in training camp, but he got a lot of snaps. Now, he didn't get to – he only played, I think, one preseason game. He got sick before one of them. So let's see what goes on. Let's not be hasty rushing to conclusions.
What I liked was the fact that Zimmer had Osa on the field for 80% of the snaps.
Yes.
Osa Odighizuwa had 61 snaps, and I was just looking here, and we'll see if it's 80% the entire season. At a certain point, playing that position, it's difficult to play 80% of the snaps. But I like it from the standpoint. I also like the rotation, but if there is a fall off from your starter to your backup, and if Osa can handle the load and not get worn down, he makes such an impact in there. And also he's got the versatility where he can go outside and rush as well. He's got that kind of athleticism where you can move him all around the defensive line as well. But just to compare, 17 starts, so Osa didn't, the last two seasons, in fact, he did not miss a game. And last year, in Dan Quinn's defense, he was on the field for 60% of the snaps, 637 snaps. And the year before, his second year in the league, 54% of the snaps. So you get him up to 75 or 80% of the snaps, you're going to see a lot more production out of Osa Odighizuwa.
And they use Nealon outside some, but a lot inside rushing in third down situations. He ended up playing 44 snaps, 58%, and a lot of that was inside. Same thing with Golston. So they were changing it up pretty good. And the other thing I noticed is and you saw it in the game, but they moved Micah all over the place. He was outside. He was inside. He was standing up outside. They used a 5-man line at one point. As a matter of fact, when he blocked the pass that Kendricks intercepted, they had basically a blitz going on, and the right tackle took the guy inside, and Micah, no one blocked Micah. He came free and was able to bat the pass up in the air, and Kendricks picked it off. I thought he was awfully good also.
We also heard from the coordinators yesterday afternoon. What were your takeaways from what the coordinators were saying?
Bones wasn't happy still. He hadn't got over
on the field goal?
The delay of game on the 66-yard field goal. I went back and looked at it, and when he talked about it, he said that they held the snap up for a late substitution. It wasn't a late substitution. They only had 10 guys on the field. So they were running a guy on the field, and the umpire stood over the ball, and Bones said he told Sig, wait, hold it. He didn't get out of there until there was 4 seconds left on the clock. So he waited from about 10 seconds when they were running a guy on the field, their 11th guy, and held the snap. That's not his responsibility. It's not like college when you run a guy off and then you run a guy on because you as an offense substitute and they hold up the snap. They were late getting 10 guys on the field. That wasn't the Cowboys' fault. So and
they were probably deciding whether to put a return guy out there.
Well, and you're right. And then after it was over with, then 5 yards, then they put the return guy back there. So yeah, it was. And the funny thing is the whistle blew, and Aubrey figured they were freezing him, that they called timeout. So he was just getting ready to, and it was like, oh, we're getting penalized. And then I understood from 71, it would have, if you were desperate, you could have done that. But when you're up, what was it, 20?
It was 20 to 3 at that point. Yeah.
No sense taking a chance that it's short and all you got is offensive linemen trying to tackle somebody.
And we many of us thought you don't want an Auburn-Alabama deal to happen, but McCarthy, of course, when you have that much experience that he has,
he had another one, right?
He had one that happened against him. I think it was against the Packers. I don't remember the player he mentioned, but he had a flash of that, and he said, "Oh, okay, we'll just
and understood, right?"
Yeah.
So Bones was that. Zim was mostly pleased with how the defense played. I thought that Jerry, the things he said on Caelen Carson, I think it was right on. I mean, if you think about what was everybody talking about, how are the Cowboys going to stop Amari Cooper? You know, and I've always said the way you stop a wide receiver is get pressure on the quarterback. Well, the Cowboys did that. Cooper caught pass number 1 that first series. He only caught one more pass the entire game. And it wasn't just, up against Carson's. Diggs had him. But Jerry's quote on Carson, who played 60 of the 72 snaps, he said, I couldn't have drawn it up any better for Carson. He just looked like he's been out there for years.
He did. He looked the part.
Boy, he really played well. And when you consider everything, he was good as anything I've seen for a first game in the NFL. They had a nice play on the goal line for the touchdown. They had 2 guys kind of stacked, and he had to take the outside guy, and as quick as it was, he wasn't close enough. But other than that, I thought he played well. Now, what happens this coming week against a team that put up 47 points in the season opener?
And for all the rookies, there's a sigh of relief. Oh, I got the first one out of the way.
Right.
Well, they keep coming at you week after week now, and you got to keep doing it over and over and over again.
Well, Jerry was big on the young guys, and he keeps saying it. There's young guys, not just rookies, but guys from last year that didn't play enough. He keeps saying that. I've heard him say it 3 or 4 times.
But it's true. I think the Cowboys have a big advantage over other teams in this league because of the continuity on this coaching staff, and this coaching staff going into their 5th year. The scouting department, there's been continuity for decades here, but for the scouts to understand what fits into the schemes and so forth, and even with a guy like Mike Zimmer, they know what Zimmer's all about. There's even though it's been since 2006 since he was here,
right?
They all know, okay, that's what Zimmer wants in a player, and so when they go scout a Caelen Carson, they know he fits Zim or a Leafau or a Nealand and those types, but I think it gives them a huge advantage, and it was never more apparent than against a Cleveland team that gave away the ranch to sign Deshaun Watson, meaning the draft ranch, and not having first-round draft picks the last 3 years, plus 3 mid-round draft picks, 3rd or 4th round picks each of those years too. It just flew off the page at you how many young players the Cowboys have on their roster making plays in their first NFL game compared to what the Browns were able to trot out there.
And you can count first-year player DeMarvion Overshown,
right,
which was rather amazing what he was able to do coming off that torn ACL in his first. Think about it. It was his first football game since the last game of the 2022 season for Texas.
And
they got something there.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, his speed on the field is apparent from just first blush. I mean,
go ask Deshaun Watson, because I'm sure he didn't expect that guy to come shooting out of a canyon on that sack.
And the tackle for loss that he had early in the game as well.
Right.
I mean, and we saw it in the preseason. Okay, that's the preseason. Well, now we're seeing it in regular season games. And I think they're playing him perfectly as the nickel linebacker, because that just plays to his strength.
And they were using him to spy too.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna have somebody that spy, you got to be able to run with the quarterback, right?
So here's the test for him.
Yes.
In 2 weeks.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson.
Yes. But let's not fast forward too fast, okay?
Okay, we will fast forward to tomorrow when Everson Walls will tell us about his golf game, and we will turn our attention to the New Orleans Saints. We'll see you again tomorrow at noon here on Mick Shots.
Go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!